All right, squad, we're going to dive right on in. Welcome into another episode of the Fit CEO podcast with yours truly, Coach Chad. All right, we're going to talk leadership today. More specifically, we're going to talk about not sugarcoating our messages and not seeking to be liked by our teams. All right. I feel like a lot of leaders struggle with seeking approval from their team instead of seeking respect. And I am speaking from experience. All right. I think this is a thing that a lot of leaders struggle with, myself included. This is definitely something that I'm actively trying to improve. And I feel like I've made some strides in improving this particular area. And I want to share those experiences and what I've learned with you guys. All right. So a lot of this will be mindset. We will talk some practical stuff on how to actually like craft messages that can be direct, candid, but also honorable and respectful. But I think the big thing that needs to be talked about today is the mindset of being respected versus being liked by your team. So let's go ahead and dive into that. All right. So as a CEO, you get paid to drive a result. All right. In fact, every single person in your company gets paid to drive a result. All right. We do not get paid, or our success is not measured on how much our team likes us. All right. That's a really important point to start off with here. All right. We are not measured or paid by the amount of people that like us on our team. However, we are paid to drive a result. All right. And the reason that's such a big distinguishable point is because if we only focus on aligning our actions and aligning our words with getting people to like us, then we are not driving a result. We're doing the opposite. All right. And if we're getting paid to drive a result, then we need to align our message and we need to align our actions with doing so. And here's the big thing as well. All right. If you are solely focused on getting people to like you in your team and you are sugarcoating your messages, you're not delivering hard feedback, you're not saying things candidly, right? Then you're not being respected by your team. All right. There's a difference between being liked by your team and being respected by your team. All right. And I'm going to give you an analogy here. All right. I know a lot of y'all are in sports or have played sports or in some way, shape, or form have had a coach. All right. I know I'm speaking to a lot of coaches here. All right. I played a lot of sports, so I'm going to put this in a sports analogy. You can mold the analogy into anything that would represent your life experience. All right. I've had many coaches growing up. I've had the coaches that made me laugh and we had a good time and we were very buddy. And I've had coaches that are basically the second coming of Hitler. And then I've had coaches that are in the in-between. All right. What you need to seek is to be that coach that's in between. All right. You need to be the coach that demands respect. All right. The person who's all buddy, they're way too nice. They're a pushover. They don't have any respect from the team. The team likes them. These types of coaches, they're liked the most, but they have the least amount of respect, which means they drive the lowest result. All right. Any coach that I've had that's been a pushover, any coach that I've had that has been way too buddy, the team was not good. Our record was not good. On the complete opposite side of that, you have the Hitler type coaches. These are the coaches that you've never even seen them smile. All right. You're walking on eggshells because, God, you can't do anything right. And because you can't do anything right and you're walking on eggshells, you also make a lot of mistakes. And those teams that I've been on, they've been good, right? We've had some success, but we never went the distance. All right. We never went the distance because that coach put such constraints on us, put such fear into our hearts and into our minds that we were scared to make a mistake. So we were scared to do things that would take us to that next level. Because God, if we ever just tried to do something different on the field, if we fucked up, man, we would be benched, right? And we wouldn't think outside the box. So this is why leadership is so hard. You can't be on one side or the other of the spectrum. You can't be the second coming of Hitler, and you also can't be, freaking Adam Sandler as a coach. You got to fall in the middle. All right. You got to fall in the middle. All right. But the big point that I'm trying to drive here is the goal should not be to be liked. The goal should be to be respected. All right. And here's what it means to be respected. All right. What it means to be respected is you are not afraid of delivering the truth. All right. You are not afraid of delivering the truth. If you have a piece of feedback for somebody, you say it and you say it how it is. Doesn't mean that you have to say it like an asshole. Doesn't mean you have to scream. Doesn't mean you have to yell. You can say it with respect and you can say it with honor, but you're going to be candid and you're not going to hold anything back. All right. And it may not feel good on the receiving end for your employees to feel that. But let's think about the coaches that you've respected in your life. The coaches that you have respected in your life have drove the greatest result. And although you may not like them to the highest degree, I can guarantee 5, 10, 15, 20 years after you worked with that coach, you look back and when you think of all your coaches, you remember that one for making the biggest difference. You remember that individual for making the biggest difference. You remember the individual that knew exactly, that wasn't afraid to say exactly what they needed to say at the right time, but also still had a resemblance of a personality, also knew when to crack a joke, also knew when to have fun, but also knew exactly when to say what they had to say to drive the result. And that's the line in the sand that we have to draw. The line in the sand that we have to draw is what I'm about to say and what I'm about to do. Does it detract from driving a result or does it move the company forward? And if it moves the company forward, it has to be said. All right. It doesn't mean that you lack a personality. It doesn't mean that you can't crack a joke. It just means when the time comes for you to say the thing that you have to say, you don't sugarcoat it and you say it. That's what it means to be respected. And that's the type of leader and that's the type of coach that you remember. All right. The next point that I have here, and we said this in a roundabout way, but I think it needs to be driven home, is these types of coaches, they're absolutely the ones that drive the result for the team, but they're also the individuals that improve they're also the individuals that improve the individual parts of the team as well. All right. So when you tell somebody exactly what they need to hear, they're not going to like it in the moment. But as I said, 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the line, they're going to be the happiest that you did because it actually moved the needle in their life. It made them a better XYZ, whatever it is they're trying to become better at. So in a roundabout way, we want people to like us, right? But at the end of the day, we also want to make people better. So the question you have to ask yourself is, do you want to be the leader? Do you want to be the manager that is the nice manager, the nice leader, the nice CEO? Or do you want to be remembered as the CEO, the leader, the manager that drove the greatest result for each individual on the team? And if that's the type of leader, manager, boss, CEO that you want to be, then you are going to have to get comfortable getting uncomfortable. You're going to have to get comfortable saying direct feedback, saying exactly what's on your mind, holding the line, holding the standard, while balancing having that personality. All right. So like I said, we were going to talk a lot of mindset on this podcast around being respected versus being liked. But at the end of the day, we can all agree that we want to seek to be respected. We want to drive the greatest result for the business. We want to drive the greatest result for the staff member. We want to drive the greatest result for the client. And we understand that if we're the nice manager, we're going to be too much of a pushover. If we're the second coming of Hitler, we're not going to get anywhere either. We're going to make people feel constraint. We're going to make people feel like they're walking on eggshells. And we all understand that we have to find that middle ground of cracking a personality, but meaning business when we have to mean business. All right, we're also going to get a little tactical. All right, we talked a lot about the mindset already, but let's get a little bit tactical here. All right, the tactical that I want to talk about is how to deliver feedback in a direct but honorable way. All right, because I think a lot when I'm working with our master coach students, which are our students who are between $10,000 and $100,000 a month, and when I'm working with them on leadership, a lot of what I hear is the communication and how things are delivered is definitely a challenge. All right. So what I want to do on the back half of this podcast here is I want to go through some scenarios and how to actually verbally deliver the feedback to your employees. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you guys a scenario. I'm going to show you guys the direct and honorable way of communicating the feedback, but I'm also going to show you the inconsiderate way as well. We're going to do this for a first-time offense, a second-time offense, and a third-time offense. And what I mean by that is a strike one, a strike two, a strike three when it comes to an employee doing a particular thing. All right, in our example here, we have an individual whose name is John. All right, John was tasked with getting data for a presentation. John messed up. All right, so here's the direct and honorable way for a first-time offense. We're going to say, John, I value your hard work. There were some issues with the data in today's presentation. It was outdated. Let's set up a time to go over your data collection process so this doesn't happen again. When are you free? XYZ day. All right, so you said directly exactly what he messed up. All right, you messed up, you got out, you brought outdated data to the presentation. However, we didn't leave it at that. All right, because if we left it at that, then we're not actually being leaders. The definition of a leader is to be of service. All right, leader equals of service. All right, so yes, we're going to tell them directly what they messed up, but we're also going to reach out our hand and say, hey, let's set up a call so we can go through your process so this doesn't happen again. All right, so that's first-time offense. First-time offense, service leadership, we're acknowledging where they messed up, but we're setting up a time to get better. All right, the inconsiderate way of saying this would be saying, John, your presentation was inadequate. You presented outdated data. This kind of sloppy work is unacceptable. Fix it quickly. All right, that would be the second coming of Hitler. No, we're not trying to help this person at all. We're reaching out. We're telling them that they fucked up, that they're inadequate, that they're not enough, and we're putting them down. All right, the sugarcoating way of saying this, I don't have this written on my document here, but I'll just make it up as we go. The sugarcoating way of saying this is, hey, John, you did an amazing job on the presentation. You messed up a little bit, but, don't worry about it. You'll get it next time. Like, I'm not super worried, like, no sweat at all, right? Like, that would be the sugarcoating way of saying it. Sure, you told him you messed up. You told him what he messed up, but you kind of brushed it off. It's not a big deal when it is a big deal, right? So stick to your truths. All right, that's a first-time offense. This is a second-time offense. All right, so John does this again. All right, so what is the direct and honorable way to deliver the second-time offense in this regard? So you're going to say, John, we've spoken about the importance of your up-to-date data. I'm disappointed to see that this issue reoccurred in today's presentation. I know you're capable of better, and I expect you to address this issue seriously. Let's revisit your process to ensure this doesn't happen again. Next time, it will be a different discussion. Let's get this right. All right, so second-time offense, a little bit of a different tone. All right, we said, like, we expect you to address this issue seriously, which is ensuing that maybe he hasn't up until this point. We still are acting as servant leaders, right? We're asking to revisit his process to make it better, but we're also ending it with saying, hey, this is the second time, and if this does happen again, we're going to have a different discussion. And then we ended it saying, let's get this right. Like, come on, you got this. All right, so that would be a second-time offense. Now, the inconsiderate way, which would be on the Hitler spectrum, would be, John, again with the outdated data, this is unacceptable. You've been told about this before. Get it sorted or there won't be a next time, right? A threat would be the second coming of Hitler there. All right, the sugarcoating way would be, once again, being dismissive. So you'd say, hey, John, maybe you like crack a joke like, man, like I saw you did it again. No big deal, man. I would really like to just set up a call and have a conversation, but, I feel confident we can get this turned around. Right. So being dismissive would be the having no spine, having no backbone. All right. Third-time offense. So John brings outdated data again. What is the direct and honorable way to go about this? You're going to say, John, this is the third time that we've had to address the outdated data in your presentation. It's disappointing to see this reoccurring issue. I need to inform you that I'll be reporting this to my superior due to the seriousness of this issue. We want to give you all the necessary tools to succeed, so we're going to implement a performance improvement plan. This plan is to support you in addressing this issue and to provide clear path for improvement. Please understand the gravity of this situation. If we don't see improvement after implementing the PIP, performance improvement plan, we will need to reevaluate your role within the company. I'm confident in your abilities and hope we can quickly rectify this issue. Okay, so what we did here, still acting within service, still telling him the gravity of the situation. And now we're in a non-threatening way saying, John, if this happens a fourth time, we're really going to have to consider your role in the company. We also put him on a PIP, a performance improvement plan. A performance improvement plan is a service-based way of saying, hey, this is your last chance. We'll create a strategy for you, but basically it's the last thing that happens before somebody is out the door. All right, that's a performance improvement plan. All right, the inconsiderate way of going about this is, John, you screwed up with the outdated data for the third time. I have to report this to my superior, and we're putting you on a PIP. If you can't get this right, we'll have to reconsider your position here. Okay, once again, no service, just direct, threatening tone, right? And once again, the thing that we want to avoid is the threatening tone, and then on the other end of the spectrum, the dismissive tone. All right, so the main point of me going through these examples with you guys is that's what we're trying to stay away from. We're trying to stay away from being dismissive. We're trying to stay away from being an asshole. We're trying to be direct and honorable. We're saying exactly what we need to say. This is exactly what happened. We're saying it in a respectful way, right? We're still being of service, but we're also being direct in that, hey, this is a serious issue, and if you don't get it right, we're going to have to speak about your role in the company, right? Which is a nice way, in a non-threatening way, a more direct and honorable way of saying these types of things. All right, y'all. That's going to be the conclusion of this podcast. I hope you guys found this helpful. The biggest thing for you guys to remember is, as leaders, and the biggest thing that I continue to remind myself, I'm certainly not perfect at this. I'm a work in progress. This is definitely one of the things that I'm trying to personally work on. But at the end of the day, the biggest thing for us to remember is that we drive a result, and results are not driven by how liked you are. Results are driven by how respected you are by your team. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.